Well, Brent, welcome to Mayor's Monday. My first chance getting to chat with you down here in the city of Mosinee. I understand you're a part-time mayor, like some others in the area, so you've got a second job, but we could sync up schedules this week to make it work.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming and thanks for the interest in our community.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's a community that I know there's a lot of excitement building. A lot of people are waiting for one thing in particular you've got on the corner of Main Street that's going to be open up here, Mosinee Brewing Company. I know the craft beer thing, the brew pub restaurant scene is really all the rage right now, and I guess the time to strike is while the iron's hot, and that's right now.
Yeah, it is, and we're excited about the brewery. I get a lot of questions everywhere I go. Even far outside of our community, it's amazing to see how many people have heard of it. And what's nice about the brewery, there's so many offshoots to that story. One thing that's really exciting about it is it's a really good example of a partnership between local government, state government, regional entities, and private funding, because the brewery is really a project in the making that it has been going on since I got elected mayor 3.5 years ago. We've been working very closely with the owners. It's gone through a number of 2 steps forward, a step back, but we're almost at the finish line here. And it's a combination of tax increment financing. There's some development incentives given through the city. Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation gave a substantial grant towards the project. The owners worked with CWED, which is a revolving loan fund that does gap financing. And also, obviously, they have a lot of their own skin in the game, private financing. So it's a really great example of a project where all the pieces, it took a long time to pull them all together, but once they get there, it's happening. And we hope that the brewery will be a catalyst for our downtown redevelopment. When I came into the mayor's office 3.5 years ago, downtown was really stagnant. A lot of empty buildings, a lot of dilapidated properties, and there was certainly a plan in place to turn around, but plans are only plans, and eventually you got to roll your sleeves up and just get going. So one of the things we started working on when I came into the mayor's office was trying to make the downtown a place where it's attractive for someone to want to invest, to do business. So we started by taking down some dilapidated property to create more parking. We offered development grants for businesses to clean up their storefronts. And this last summer, we replaced all the decorative sidewalk downtown. So you started to see one little change after the next, even simple stuff from cleaning up our square park in the middle of downtown. And then the brewery came along. And then next, we had interest in a Mexican restaurant that is simultaneously right now under construction downtown. And we're hoping that these 2 projects start to raise some eyebrows in other potential entrepreneurs or existing or new business owners that want to do business in our community, because Mosinee is sometimes forgotten by people, but we really are more than what some outside the community think of us as, is just a bedroom community or paper mill town. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've driven through the downtown area just a few times down here for one reason or another, and I mean, it is kind of impressive. There's a lot of little, that looks like, mom and pop shops or little places kind of off the beaten path to do business. Maybe that's got kind of a negative connotation to it, but
no, that's fine.
You know what I'm getting at.
Sure.
Here. There's not a lot of chain development down here. There's really a lot of small town development, and to somebody like me, that means a lot of small town pride. That means people coming back into town and investing in it. Maybe after they go and get their degree somewhere else, they come back here and invest in their hometown.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I did. I grew up here a couple blocks away, graduated from high school here, and left for the better part of 7-8 years to go to college. And I one day just picked up and said, I want to come back because it was a great place to grow up. It was a great place to be raised, and I'd like to raise a family of my own here someday. And when I got back and looked around, I said, well, things have kind of grown stagnant, and I think there's projects that can be worked on here. And that's why I just one day started going to city council meetings and went to another one and another one and another one and decided to run for mayor. And, here we are today, and we're working on stuff in the community. And, we talk about the brewery and downtown. That's one facet of our business community. And then some of those businesses that are sort of outside of the main business district, we have a lot of them throughout town. But our other business district, so to speak, that's of a totally different demographic is the Central Wisconsin Business Park. And, we've had in the last, I want to say, 3.5 years or so since I've been mayor, we've had 2 new businesses that have come in, have left other communities to come here, which is amazing. And we've had, I believe, 4 expansions out in the Central Wisconsin Business Park from businesses like Greenheck, Aero Global. We just did a groundbreaking last week. They're doing a major multi-phase expansion over the next 5 years. I walked across the street right after that and celebrated an open house at Transport Refrigeration, which is a company that left Plover to come here. And, a lot of that comes from having a good relationship with the city. If you're pro-business, pro-development, I think those things happen a lot easier. Transport Refrigeration, for instance, when we were at their open house, they couldn't stop commenting on how easy it was to work with us at the city to make that project happen. And I appreciated that because the business park, because it's been so prosperous, that really has saved our community in a lot of other ways, because that provides a significant amount of tax revenue for us to not only keep the lights on, but to do other projects. One of the things that I worked on when I got elected as mayor is because both the downtown, where the brewery is, and the business park out by the airport are in tax increment finance districts, which allows us to use their tax revenue to do projects. We were able to hook those 2 districts up. And because the business park has excess revenue that otherwise would be going to waste in some respects, well, it's in a TIF district, we're able to send some of that excess revenue downtown to do projects like the brewery that we wouldn't otherwise be able to do. So
yeah, and it sounds like a lot of reason to be optimistic and a lot of reason to think that things are moving forward down here then.
Yeah, they are. And it's just exciting to see, because I've been in Mosney long enough to see a downtown that when I was a little kid was vibrant, and then sort of retracted over time, especially, I think as things have changed north of us. I mean, Rib Mountain's really exploded. You've got a lot of big box stores there, a lot of options, and it's convenient for people to just jump on the highway for 10 minutes and be at all those locations. And that may have had something to do with the regression of our mom and pop shops down here. And times just change. But, this is, I didn't want to get to that point where we completely gave up. And now I think we're seeing the table sort of turn and come back alive in a different fashion. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that I think a lot of residents can definitely be excited about. But of course, as mayor yourself, that doesn't come without the headaches as well. We are in the middle of budgeting season for all the major communities around here. I'm sure yours is no different as well. Can you maybe give us just a little update on how that's going and how things are looking there?
Yeah, we're going through our budget process right now. We hope to pass a budget in November. It's tough, and Mosney, as you mentioned, is no exception to other communities. It's just, you'd like to do so much, but you only have so many resources to work with. You're always fighting the battle between taking on too much debt, raising property taxes, or just spending too much. But at the same time, you have stuff that needs to get done, just like your house, and you need to fix the roof or put the new furnace in. Around here, we need to fix the road eventually. We need to deal with other infrastructure projects. We need to replace the snowplow, and all that stuff gets really expensive. Transportation funding is always a big hot topic with the state. We've seen some transportation funding increases here at the city, but not every community has. And the problem is, when you talk about state funding, for instance, when you fill up one pot, if another pot goes down, you really haven't had a net gain. So one of the challenges we face, for instance, transportation funding, we've gotten an increase of about $38,000 over last year. However, right now, Mosney actually is the only community in the state I'm aware of that has recently filed a lawsuit against the Department of Revenue challenging its personal property aid payment. Personal property aid is an aid that was created this year to replace personal property tax revenue we lost because of a tax repeal. We're about $48,000 short is our argument. So you can see when you've filled up one pot with $38,000 but taken 48 out of another, it's a net loss. And so state aid is always a battle that we fight to deal with so that we don't have to raise property taxes as much in the city to still maintain the same services. There used to be a day, for instance, when 20 years ago, my dad was mayor, so I have a lot of historical perspective. 20 years ago, they used to budget something like $150,000 or $200,000 a year cash to do road repairs in the city. In this day and age, that is impossible to find that money in our budget, and we've lost that because of other things we've had to keep up with over time. And now we're left to borrow the money if we want to do it, but you can only borrow so much. So I have noticed in just 3.5 years of being mayor, which is a small amount of time compared to my colleagues in the area, some of them who've been in office much longer, that every year seems like it's becoming harder and harder to meet the demands of your community while keeping property taxes low. A decrease is something that almost isn't heard of anymore. Last year I had a small decrease, thankfully, but this year I'm hoping to just have no increase. But it's just becoming tougher every year.
So when you mentioned timeline then for a budget, possibly is that going to be next month?
We're slated to pass a budget November 20th. So we're getting close on that, but now we've had a couple workshops, and you're kind of in the stage of doing the slicing and dicing to try and make it balance. And really, it comes down to a decision of how much, if at all, do I want to raise property taxes compared to how much, if at all, do I want to make these things on my revenue, on my expense side happen. So.
One of those parts of the job that they really don't tell you about when you get into it. That sometimes
Right.
It's going to make you an unpopular guy, but it's a decision that has to be made.
That's right. It is, and it's something that we take really seriously. So.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing where all those projects go, and of course, I'm going to look forward to coming down here and trying some of those beers down at the brewing company.
Yeah,
here
great.
eventually.
I hope you come back for that. That would be really nice.
Yes,
So.
absolutely. Well, we appreciate the time here this week, and we'll look forward to chatting again sometime down the road.
Okay, great. Thank you.